Today is Tuesday, May 8th, 2024. I will say that I'm nervous, which is crazy considering what I do for a living, and I'm constantly being recorded and on video. But I definitely didn't anticipate starting today recording something like this, but I'm gonna do it anyway because something needs to be said, something needs to be done. So I'm gonna record it anyway, and then if it goes nowhere, it goes nowhere. If it goes somewhere, great. If it makes something change, even better, and it was all worth it. I have no idea how long this video is going to be. I have no idea how short this video is going to be. I don't know what it's going to come out like because none of this is actually pre-planned, rehearsed, written down, or anything of the sort. So I'm not going to share my name, even though some people will know it, and that's fine. It's not that I care about being found out or anything like that. I'm a very open person, and a lot of people know me based on what I do, so it's not like, I'm going to be anonymous, but I'm not going to share my name because it really doesn't matter. And the reason why it really doesn't matter is because there are so many like me. There are so many people, especially women, but men as well, and children who are being abused every single day, all day, every single day, not only in my home country of the United States, but all around the world. I can only speak to the United States because that's where I live, and where I live, those states. But what I have found is that the abuse and the system that supports this abuse is so horrifically prevalent, and it feels like nothing is being done to try to stop it. And maybe that's the point. I don't know, right? Like maybe the point is to continue the abuse. But I won't go into like extraneous detail of my experience because my experience is going to be different than anybody else's experience. Even if we were to go through the exact same things, the experience would be different. What I will say is that I was in a relationship that was incredibly abusive. It got more and more abusive over time. And I have all the evidence in the world to show that, but nobody seems to care about that either. It was not only abusive to me, but I found out after the fact that it was also abusive in many forms to both of my children. And and the really fucked up thing about it all is that the entire time I was in it, I actually thought I was alone, because that's the point, right? Like isolation to make you think that you're alone and that like it's only happening to you and no one's going to believe you and all of this stuff, right? So I'll give a little bit of background of how I got to this point and why I'm recording this video, and we'll just see what happens, I guess. So hindsight is 2020. We hear hindsight for this shit is like 10/10, 5/5, fucking 4K vision, right? You look back after, well, I do every day I look back, every day, every night I have nightmares about everything that happened, and I think back on what I should have done, right? Because that's also the question I get. Well, if it was so bad, why did you stay? Well, couldn't you have left? Couldn't you have done something different? I'm sorry, were you there? Did you know what I was going through? Did you know the threats? Did you know what was held over my head? Like the safety of my child? Were you there? No, you weren't. Okay, so you don't know, so please don't ask that question. But I do it to myself. That's the thing that people don't realize, is that I ask myself that question every single day. I should have known better. Why didn't I know better? Why didn't I do something different? Why didn't I leave sooner? Why didn't I know the first night that we met when he tried to pull my pants down in the parking lot of a bar? Why didn't I know that that wasn't okay? Why did I convince myself that it was because I was desirable or whatever, or that it was okay that he was doing that? Why did I do that? I ask myself this constantly. 10 years of these questions, every single day I ask myself, so I don't need you to ask me too. So in going back, there are so many instances of abuse in every form: financial, sexual, physical, emotional, psychological, mental, isolation, that happened constantly. It was never enough. all of the gaslighting, all of it. It's a science for a reason, because they're all the same. They all do the same thing. If they didn't, the pattern of behavior wouldn't be so obvious. The science wouldn't be there. The statistics wouldn't even be able to be there, because you wouldn't have that consistency of behavior, right? You couldn't be a level C DV perpetrator, highly unlikely to remediate, if you weren't able to be tested as such, which is what he tested out to be, right? And then failed remediation, DV remediation, whatever the hell that is, less than 6 months later after starting. So in 2021, if I recall the dates correctly, is when everything happened with Gabby Petito. Now, I don't know Gabby Petito. I don't know her family. I never met them. I know literally nothing about them. So I can only go off of what I can see like on the internet and what everybody else sees through the news and what have you. And when I learned about Gabby Petito, I didn't know very much. It was when it was happening in real time, and when they found her body, and then they found her abuser and his body, and how he had killed himself, and whatever the story said, right? Like, I'm not a part of that case. I don't know how that is going to play out. I don't know anything about necessarily the details of it, but this was the story that was being told, right? But in that time, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is so terrible. Why would somebody do this, right? But in my mind, because we are disillusioned as to what's actually going on in the world, I thought it was something that was isolated, something that was just the actions of that one individual against that other individual. I didn't know the story. I didn't know the background. I didn't really know anything. So to me, and in my state of where I was in this abusive marriage, this abusive relationship that had gone on at that point for 9 years, I think, if I'm calculating the dates correctly, 9 years. Maybe I convinced myself that it was isolated, right? Like that it wasn't real to me. Like it didn't apply to me. It was something that happened to this one individual, and there was nothing that like I could have like any relationship to. But it was horrific nonetheless. And I read about it and moved on, right? Like we all do. We just read about it, we move on. We say, oh my God, that's so terrible. Hopes and prayers, thoughts and prayers, whatever people say. And we move on. Except it's not isolated, which I would come to find out. So fast forward to summer of 2022, and I'm watching this show on Netflix called Made. And I don't really watch a lot of TV. I stopped really watching TV when I was 15. I watch it, and then I'm like, I could be doing something better with my time. But for some reason, I was really sick during this time, actually. I was very sick, often very sick, which in itself is kind of interesting considering as soon as I fled, all of a sudden my blood results were perfect. And I barely get sick. And when I do, it's pretty minimal. And my body is able to pretty much heal itself, which is something that couldn't happen in the 10 years I was in that relationship, and actually became more and more impossible and more unexplainable as we got closer to the end. I find that compelling. I digress. So summer of 2022, it's around June, July, I'm watching this show Made. And I find this show really interesting. I like the acting. I come to find that I believe Andie MacDowell, who plays the mother, the girl, and I apologize, I can't remember her name, the girl who plays the main character is actually her real life daughter, and all this stuff is very cool. And it's about a woman who ends up leaving an abusive relationship and basically restarts her life with her daughter to just move on, right? And she becomes a maid, and she does all these kind of like weird things to make it. And spoiler alert, she ends up going to writing school in the end. She ends up enrolling. She wanted to be a writer. She ends up enrolling, and she gets in, and she starts school. And it's this like great story, right? I think what was really just totally fucked up about it is that at the end, after the last episode was over, I go, that's it? Now, what does that mean? So the entire time I'm watching this show, I keep waiting for it to get worse. right? Like, we get to the point of the ashtray being thrown above her head. And I'm like, okay. So, like, this is getting to the point of being serious. Because, like, in my relationship, being choked and beaten and sexually taken advantage of and coerced and all that stuff, that was like every day. And my children observed it, and we've all reported it. This is not a secret. But we're consistently told it's our fault, or that, we made it up, or that I've coached my children into saying these things even though I'm literally not present when they do say these things, or I find out after the fact that they observed these things. But once again, I digress. So this, I look it up and I'm like, is this a true story? And my understanding is it is. Now, Hollywood shows, whatever, they changed the story. I don't know that woman. I don't know what she went through. I don't know how true to her real story it is, what may have been omitted, how bad it really was in reality. That's not like where I am coming from. In looking at just the show as it was portrayed, my literal reaction was, that's it? And they made an entire Netflix series off of an ashtray and an alcoholic that was throwing out some not nice things? And then it dawned on me how really fucked up that reaction was. Because if my reaction to someone being abused that horrifically is, that's it, that's bad. And that's when I kind of was like waking up to how bad my situation was. And I've been asked a lot of questions. I've talked to so many people in the last, we're going on 2 years now. And the one thing that I kind of came to conclude for me is that I didn't know what was going on. But I also didn't know that I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to make it through every day. I was just trying to defuse every fucking bomb that was being, every piece of dynamite that was being lit along the way, trying to protect my children, trying to pay for everything, trying to support his emotional outbursts, trying to support his alcoholism, trying to deal with my medical conditions that nobody could tell me what was going on. Why my blood work was just so inconsistent and made absolutely no sense, trying to hide everything so that I wouldn't inconvenience anybody, or so that they wouldn't know, or so that they wouldn't say, oh, you need to leave, when I knew nobody was going to believe me, right? So I had like a lot, I was exhausted and I couldn't keep track of it all. And I was literally just trying to make it through every day. And like every morning I'd wake up, I'm going to be honest, most of the time I woke up and I was like, God, I wish I wouldn't have awakened. I wouldn't have awakened to this again. Oh my God, that's so terrible. I hear that all the time. How could you ever think that? If you're not in that situation, you have no clue. You don't know. You don't know what you would think. You don't know what you would feel. You don't know what you would do. You don't know. So the judgment is thick with people, but the willingness to help is very, very small. So let me just be really clear on that. So I start to kind of like go, wait a second, this is weird. Like and this was just merely a few weeks before the final event. Now, when I say the final event was me being beaten nearly to death by this individual in front of my child, who was 5 at the time, and also in front of another witness, an adult witness, who tried to stop this individual from doing what this individual was doing to me. Now, did I just sit there and take it? Hell no, I did not. I did not. I fought back. I defended myself, and spoiler alert, I got blamed for it, right? Like, because he had, what did they call it? Affirmative defenses. He must have feared for his life and so on and so forth and whatever. But he beat me unconscious multiple times. I would get up to try to get to my child, and then he would beat me again. And again, this is in front of an adult witness who literally interviewed about everything that she saw. My child said everything that my child saw. They matched up with everything that I said. So we have 3 people saying the exact same thing, even though I'm unconscious and unable to speak to them, but he must have feared for his life. And so his affirmative defense is that he was just defending himself, despite the history, including that he was already convicted of a DV charge only a couple years prior. Okay, let's move on. So I go through this whole legal system process and the law enforcement. We're talking bond violations for him. We're talking me having to defend myself and what I did in the legal system because I was charged for defending myself. We're talking psych evals, these evals, those evals, all of this stuff, paying all of his living expenses literally after I had just fled another state to go to another state to keep myself and my children safe. And I had to continue working with a severe concussion and multiple other injuries. Well, he just basically did whatever he wanted and I paid for everything, right? I continued to pay all of the expenses. He continued to be on my insurance while he is violating bond, while he is violating protection orders repeatedly, while we're doing investigations with Child Protective Services in 2 different states, which he is found, they don't say guilty, but basically responsible for, substantiated, whatever they call it in whichever state, right? So I'm dealing with all of this. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because as a result of all of these things happening, as a result of being financially bled out, I'm having to make all of these phone calls and I'm having to talk to all of these people. Now, mind you, when I first fled and I got back to where I am today, my face was brutally beaten. I literally, when I went to court right after it happened to get a protection order, the gentleman in front of me in the pews in the courtroom turned around because he heard me shift in my seat, turned around and literally went, that's how bad it was. And that was only a couple of days. That was 4 days after the final beating. And that they hadn't even colored up yet. The bruises hadn't even colored up yet. So, and they were there for probably 2 months. It took 2 months for the bruises to heal. So people, you know, right? Like, you know what happened. Like, people aren't stupid. So, well, not all people. Some are. But, so I'm going through and I'm having to go to doctors and I'm having to literally restart my life and the lives of my children from our clothes and plastic bags, right? So I'm having to buy furniture. I'm having to go find a place to live. I'm having to restart everything. I'm having to make all of these phone calls. I'm da-da-da-da. Why does this matter? Because I've been having to do this for going on 2 years, and I cannot express, and this is why I'm recording this video, I cannot express how horrific it is that I can talk to a random ass person in a random phone call, and when they ask me what is going on or like why I have always had impeccable financials and all of a sudden I am like damn near bankruptcy, what is going on? Why am I calling my insurance company to report fraud by my former spouse? Why, right? And I give this information because I have to, and I'm an honest person. That's actually one of my internal, just my moral compass. Like I am horrible at lying. I'm horrible at lying because I see it as stupid. I see it as so dumb to lie about stuff because like, why? You're gonna probably get caught anyway. I was an investigator for over a decade for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. So I'm telling people honestly why and what has happened. And here's what's so painful and angering. I cannot express how many people, how many women and men, including that gentleman in the pew sitting in front of me who was there to get a protection order as well, telling me his story about what was going on with him. You have no idea how many people have told me their stories with domestic violence and intimate partner violence and abuse by someone who's supposed to love them, by someone who is supposed to honor them the way they honor that person, right? Are there people who make shit up and like, you know, say, oh, like, well, this person abused me. He, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Hell yeah, there is, and it sucks. And I can't stand people like that, because they're the ones who make it so incredibly difficult for people like me, victims, survivors like me, to get true justice, and to get justice in an effective and quick and efficient way, so that you can actually move on and heal from everything that you've experienced, right? And I'm angry. Like I said, I have no idea how this video is gonna come out, but I'm angry because this is fucking constant that I am talking to these people, and I'm just trying to get some support or some insight or some help or some knowledge or something, or they're seeing the bruises on my face, or they're seeing me cry in my car because I have to cry before I pick up my children, that yet another thing has been dropped in the legal system, or another way he's being supported. Well, the three of us suffer from what he's done. But that doesn't matter, does it? Right? Must be so nice to be, that's going to go political. I'm just going to keep that one to myself. So, I'm going to give some examples of this. The lady that I can recall, but there are so many, like I literally couldn't go through all of them. The lady at the furniture store where I bought furniture from my family was a DV survivor. Okay, the gentleman who checked me out at the furniture store, his mother or sister was a DV survivor and went through it as well. You look this shit up on people.com, there are examples of DV IPV for not only against the spouse, but especially against the children, because the link is there. They are just killing their spouses and their children left and right, and like everyone's like, okay, like what's this celebrity wearing today? And it's just everywhere. So I've got this is literally like within a month and a half of me being back after I fled. Bruises still all over my face, and this keeps happening. I call places to set up my utilities, and it's happening. Right? I talk to people where I'm like, hey, I have a protection order. I need to give you a copy so that the community can be safe. And they say, oh yeah, we have a whole file for protection orders. You're not alone in this. Like, there are so many. Cool. Great. Right? Their entire systems about this. And I guess trying to combat it, but more just labeling and then trying to say that these individuals can be remediated, but then the system supports them simultaneously in everything that they do. So there have been others. At one point, I had to call the bank because I'm trying to figure out how to keep making it. I can't do anything. I can't make more money. I can't make my job give me more money. I can't do anything. I'm bleeding out because I'm having to pay for everything. I'm bleeding out from all the legal fees, all the therapy, all the medical bills to take care of my injuries, to take care of the emotional, psychological scars and injuries to me and both of my children. I'm trying to keep them safe. I'm trying to keep them somewhat emotionally stable while the system continues to just re-traumatize them with these proceedings that just have to happen, right? We have to do it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It doesn't matter that he's been founded in 2 states for child abuse neglect. It doesn't matter that he has a prior DV conviction from a couple years prior. It doesn't matter that he has violated bond over, and the protection orders over 24 times. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So you're just going to have to keep going through it. And this is how it is. So I called the bank, and it was really cool. I was actually really impressed with this bank. And I'm not going to say who, because I'm not trying to get into like whatever the legalities of product placement or whatever people say these days. But I called the bank, and when somebody would answer, they would say, hi, my name is so-and-so calling from blah, blah, blah. And they would say their city and state. Now, I thought this was really cool because it makes a genuine connection.
Here's what wasn't cool. In that phone call, because of everything that I had to accomplish from different departments, I was transferred between 4 women. I only talked to one of the women, the third woman I talked to. I really only talked to her for 30 seconds because she was basically an operator in between. I had accidentally got transferred, or she was confused, or something happened, right? So I only talked to her for like 30 seconds. But the other 3 of the 4 women, mind you, I'm on the phone too, so there are 5 women total. When I told them a little bit about my story and why I was calling, guess what? They were affected by DV IPV too. 2 of those were survivors, like me. One of them cried on the phone as she explained to me that she was so grateful I was a survivor because her best friend wasn't. She died a victim at her spouse's hands. So, just to clear up the math there, we're talking in one phone conversation, there are 5 women from 5 different states in this country, in the United States of America, 5 women from 5 different states, 4 of which were directly impacted by DV IPV, 1 of which was her best friend who died at her spouse's hands, and the other 3 were the survivors themselves. The chances of that being a coincidence are astro-freaking-nomical. They're not. Okay? They're just not. There is like if this were an isolated thing too, I would be like, holy shit, that's like a really strange coincidence, right? Except this isn't the only time this has happened. With how many people I talk to as part of my job, as part of taking care of my family, as part of going through the legal system, in speaking with multiple victims advocates from multiple places as part of this, when talking to DCS, Department of Child Safety, and talking to Child Protective Services, and talking to the Department of Homeland Security, and talking to Department of Economic Security, and talking to the IRS, and talking blah, 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 blah. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And there are so many times when I've thought about recording a video like this and then just being like, you know, I just don't know that I really want to put myself out there. I don't know that I want to do that. I'm, you know, having a rich daddy that pays for everything and supports his abusive son. Like, I don't know that I really want to walk that line. I did look up defamation, and as long as I don't use names, I'm supposed to be okay. Fucking, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm just gonna have to fucking take the risk to try to help other people because this is ridiculous. So why did I decide to make this video today? Again, I said the date at the beginning, May 8th, 2024, okay? The reason why is because I had to call my insurance. I had to call my insurance to report insurance fraud by this same individual who very well knows that he is not on my insurance and has not been on my insurance, but went on ahead and used it anyway at 2 different locations. And I had already reported it to the individual places where he had gone to receive these services, but I needed to report it to my insurance to let them know because this is a federal crime. This is federal fraud. Do I think that anything's actually going to be done about any of this? No, I don't, because thus far I have reported literally everything, and thus far literally nothing has happened, and there has been absolutely zero accountability from a criminal justice perspective, and there's also been nothing done from a legal perspective to help get some sort of support beyond what can be done, I guess, with all of these limitations and all of these protections that these abusers get as a result of this broken system, okay? So I call my insurance and I finally get to a human after multiple attempts of going through the phone tree and the automated system and whatever. And I talk to a woman. She's very nice, and you can tell she's a little bit on the older side, you know, by her voice and just the way she talks. You can tell she's probably a little bit older and probably has kids of her own. And I'm telling her what's going on, and she's asking me questions, and she sounds really curious. And, you know, I'm really big on talking about this, obviously, and making this shit known, because this shit thrives in silence. The fact that this is not talked about is exactly how this bullshit is able to continue. Okay, so I'm talking to this woman and I'm telling her what's going on, and I'm upset, right? And like, I'm not really an angry person in here. I'm just one of those people where I'm like, oh, like, whatever, move on, right? Like, I just don't. But I can tell you, I am angry. And the problem is, I can't do anything about it. So I just get to live with knowing that this individual has done all of these things, and these other people have done all these things to these other individuals, and nothing happens because they tell me their stories, and then they also tell me that nothing actually happened, or something kind of happened, but not really. And then sometimes what's really stellar to hear is that something kind of happened, but not really. But then when they get out, they just went back and murdered the person anyway, because then they were pissed, right? Because they're the victim. They had to go to jail or prison or do probation or parole or whatever for their abuse of another. So now they're upset. So then they go and find that person, and then they kill them. Yeah, that's great, right? But it's okay. I've got a piece of paper that says I have a protection order. Literally, I think I'm at 11 protection order violations at this point. No charges, no arrest, no jail time, no nothing. Okay. Moving on. So I'm talking to this woman, and she's so nice. And she's asking me these questions. And I'm telling her. And she goes, man, this sounds so familiar. Including me being blamed for everything. What'd you do to upset him? Well, I mean, you fought back, right? So what was he supposed to do? So blamed repeatedly for being abused by another and defending myself and my children. Blamed repeatedly somehow. Somehow it was my fault, right? So I'm talking to her, and she goes, this sounds so familiar. And I go, I know, like, I was reading about Gabby Petito the other day, actually. And it's really similar to her story, right? Just unfortunately, she didn't make it. She died a victim. She didn't make it. And I was lucky enough to make it, right? I'm sorry for the movement. She goes, no, not Gabby Petito. My daughter went through the same thing. And I can't tell you how many of the women close to me in my life have gone through something similar, and I try to help, and I try to get them out, and I've literally had them say, I can't. And I say, why? And they say, because I'll never make it through everything you've been through. I'm not that strong. So I'm talking to this woman. And she tells me that her daughter was in a similar situation. And I go, yeah, you know, the prevalence of something like this, it's just horrific. It's disgusting. I go, I'm so sorry that your daughter went through this as well. Like, it's just horrible. And I realize now that I'm out how common it is. I hear it all the time. And I go, I hope your daughter made it out too. You know, I hope she was able to get out. I hope she was able to start over. And it hurts. It's hard. It's hard because they make it hard. So anyway, I'm so caught up in what I'm saying and trying to get the number for the fraud department. Then I notice, I pick up that this woman every time I say, I hope your daughter made it out, I hope she's doing okay, she kind of doesn't respond. But she said past tense, so, right? Because, like, I pick up on words. I work in kind of the world of communications, and she goes on to tell me that she wasn't in the situation anymore. She was in a better place. And I pick up on the voice tone change and that phrasing that everybody knows, in a better place. And I go, oh. And I said, I'm sorry she went through that. And I'm sorry that you as a mother went through that, you know. And she goes, yeah. She goes, you know, she didn't make it out. And I go, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry that you went through that she went through that. She didn't make it out. And she goes, well, she didn't die at his hands. She got to the point where she didn't feel like she had a choice. She didn't have a choice. And so she took matters into her own hands. So she didn't say it. She couldn't say it. I could tell. But her daughter was in a similar situation. Again, this is a random woman at a insurance call center that I get connected with at random, right? And her daughter killed herself because she couldn't get out. She couldn't leave. And she couldn't stay either because she couldn't do it. And you know what? I go, you know what? I'm so sorry, but I know that pain. I know that pain because I tried to do the same thing only a year, not even a year before the final event. I tried to do the same thing because I felt like I had no other choice. Now, what never was said was that as I was making that choice, I guess, it isn't a choice, just to be really fucking clear on that. When people say, oh my God, it's so horrible. Why would you ever say something like that? Why would you ever do something like that? And then they use it against you in court, right? Like, oh, or they use it against you when you're going through everything to try to protect your children. And the only thing that they focus on is the time you tried to end your life, but they don't look at what pushed you to that point, right? Like, apparently, whatever I say pushes him to the point of beating me, and that's okay. But whatever happens to me that pushes me to the point of no longer wanting to live through it, that's not all right. Just to be clear, that's not all right. So, what isn't said, and what is documented, is that this individual also was a part of shoving pills in my mouth and then covering my nose and telling me to swallow them and fucking kill myself already, right? But that part's not said. That part's not talked about. And then when he realized that I was probably gonna die, probably freaked out inside and was like, holy shit, they're gonna look into me, right? And they're gonna see the history because my children were present at the time. And I'll probably be charged, right? Now, to be clear, he probably wouldn't be because that doesn't actually happen. So, of course, he's the hero in making me purge, which saved my life. And then he went on to tell everybody he saved my life. And then when we would get in arguments or he would decide, you know what, like, let's just abuse you some more, he would tell me how much he wished I had just died that night and how he would have let me die that night. But that I was worth more to him alive than dead because my life insurance only went so far. But I digress again. I apologize. But I talked to this woman and I said, you know what? I said, that's horrific. And I use that word a lot, horrific, right? Because I don't even have a word for all of this. So horrific is the only thing I can come up with that kind of embodies what this is. I go, that is horrific. I am so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry your daughter went through that. I am so sorry for everything. I'm sorry if this conversation bothered you. And I start to cry. And she goes, it's okay. It's okay. She's in a better place, right? Oh, look, you can see my scar. I actually just had to have a knee replacement. I made this phone call after physical therapy. I had to have a knee replacement revision, my 9th knee surgery, because in the final assault, he actually tore my PCL and destroyed my knee. So I actually had to have a 9th knee surgery and a replacement revision to fix the damage that's done. I get to pay for that too, right? Because he didn't do anything. But anyway, so you can actually see my scar there. It's healing up quite nice. But she says she's in a better place, much better place than she was there. And I told her, I go, I really appreciate you even feeling that way and understanding that the pain that she was in and the suffering she went through every fucking day got her to the point where she literally was probably exhausted, didn't know what was going on, didn't know what to do, wasn't believed. Everyone told her it was her fault, that she should be doing this, that, or the other thing, right? Or maybe she's the one who egged him on or said the wrong thing that really hurt his ego. And she died. She killed herself because she literally couldn't take it anymore. And that is why I'm finally recording this video. Because when I went and saw that Barbie movie, which I literally never thought I would ever watch, but my daughter wanted me to go see it and said it was a comedy and whatever. That shit's real. Yeah, Margot Robbie did an amazing job being Barbie. Absolutely. I always get Ryan Reynolds and Ryan Gosling confused, but whichever one it was, Ryan Gosling, I think. Whatever. America Ferrera, they did an amazing job acting, right? It was an amazing movie. But that shit is real. And it is worse in reality. And it is happening every single day. Look up the statistics on DV/IPV. When I looked at the statistics on DV/IPV in the United States alone, I think it said something like a woman is beaten every 7 seconds. Every 7 seconds. Every 7 seconds. This video's been going for 42 minutes, all right? 42, what is that? That's almost 7 seconds. I can't even actually calculate that. Someone calculate it. It's incredible. And these statistics are not like made up statistics. They're literally on government websites. You can look it up. Look it up. Go look it up. Go look it up right now. Stop this video. Go look it up. Go look up how prevalent IPV DV is, not only to the spouse, but to the children, and not only to women, although it's the majority, to men. And no one seems to give a shit. No one seems to care. That Barbie movie is literally one of my favorite movies now, which again, I never thought I would ever say anything like that. Not really very girly, super tomboy. I'm shaking, I'm sure you can see it. It was so true to form that when I went with my children, my son, who watched the final assault happen, had to choose my words very carefully there, who watched the final assault happen, who was himself a victim and is now a survivor of the same kind of abuse. My daughter, same thing, psychological, mental, emotional abuse, taunting, intimidating, all of those things. We're watching the movie together and my son literally almost can't watch it. Because Ken in that movie reminds him so much of the other individual and how he behaved and treated other people, especially us. And my daughter, same thing. And I literally have my Apple Watch going off, love my Apple Watch, telling me, your heart rate's too high. Your heart rate's too high throughout the entire movie. And every single time Ken would dig into Barbie, it was so true to form that my watch would go off to tell me my heart rate was 130. My heart rate's 140. My heart rate's 111, 120. throughout the whole movie, and it's still one of my favorite movies, because I hope so much every single time I think about it, and every single time someone brings it up, and every single time it's advertised, that maybe, just maybe, it will wake people up. Maybe, just maybe, it will wake up another woman or man who is or child who's being abused, and like that show Made from Netflix did for me, it will show them how bad their situation is, maybe something, and maybe it will make another survivor instead of them dying as victims. And they don't leave. We don't leave. And there are different reasons why. But I can tell you, after it all, and literally as a former investigator for over a decade, and all the evidence I have, and literally having a fucking witness there who saw the entire thing, and all of the outside agencies, and everything that I've reported, and everything that I've done, and you know what's happened? Nothing. Zero accountability for this individual. Zero. Literally fucking zero. Nothing at all. And I am not alone. And that's why I didn't share my name at the beginning. That's why I don't share a lot of details aside from this whole defamation bullshit that they can use. Because it doesn't matter. My name doesn't matter. Where I'm from doesn't matter. Where this happened doesn't matter. What happened doesn't matter in the grand scheme of what this video is about. Because I am one of so many who are going through the same fucking thing. Who have been through the same fucking thing. Who have had family members or friends, loved ones who are going through or have been through the same fucking thing. And they sit there and they suffer and they die because they know that they're not going to be believed. And I want to say that, like, that statement is really, really dangerous. I want to call that out. Because that is the feeling, right? You're going to be victim shamed. You're going to be told that it's your fault. You're going to, whatever. As much as being on the other side hurts, as much as these experiences hurt, as much as recording this video hurts, as much as these, all of this hurts. It's still better than ever being there. It's still better to be able to hear my children laugh and see them smile and listen to them sing. One of my children used to sing, the older one. My son, he didn't sing. I didn't even know he liked to sing. What was there to sing about? But as soon as we left, and he was safe, and he knew it, to an extent, he knows I keep him safe, and I bust ass to make sure, he started to sing. And I was like, you like singing? And he was like, I love singing. And I said, why didn't you sing before? And he said, there was nothing to sing about. Now he sings all the time. He's happy, unless it has anything to do with the other individual, and then once again he's traumatized, having nightmares and self-harming because he's on the spectrum and feels like he can't handle the pain that he goes through when his PTSD is triggered. In all honesty, I've kind of lost track of where I am right now. I really have. The danger of saying they don't believe you. Here's the thing. That's true. A lot of people aren't going to believe you. But a lot of people are. There are advocates. There are nonprofit attorneys. There are other survivors or family and friends of victims and survivors who know it's real, who are there, who will help, who will do what they can. The problem is, even they're limited on what they can do by the system, by the people, the naysayers, the people who want to blame the person who's being abused because it's easier, it's more comfortable. Maybe it lines their pocketbook because they're getting paid on the back end to lie and do all this stuff. They're making a lot of money to defend these pieces of shit. I don't know why. I never will. You can't make sense of nonsense, and I will never, ever understand how people who defend known perpetrators, known abusers, it's written all over how, there are people who are innocent and they're wrongly accused and whatever, and that makes sense for them to have this support from these, defense attorneys and stuff. But when it is so abundantly fucking clear what is happening here, and you still have these people who still defend these pieces of shit for a damn paycheck at the end, I hope you enjoy your nice car. I hope you enjoy your nice house while this individual continues to abuse the community. I really hope that you don't have a daughter or a son that crosses this individual's path. I really hope that your daughter, son, mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, best friend, I really hope they are not impacted by IPV as you defend these others. But here's the kicker. Here's the secret of it all that I'm just going to out right now. I am telling everyone very clearly, the chances of you, unless you are a hermit that literally just lives under a rock or completely isolates from people, which I don't honestly blame you if you do. Good on you. You know someone who has been impacted. You know someone right now. You know someone who has been through this, who is going through this, who may be lucky enough to be a survivor. I put lucky in quotes a lot because, there's a huge part of it that it's so much better on the other side, but the pain that it is to just protect yourself and your children, if you have children, or your family from these people is unreal. It really is. It is, because the system supports it. But it's still worth it. I wouldn't go back for anything. And I give it to the universe to bring out the karma or whatever the universe does. It's not woo-woo, it's science. The energy you put out is the energy that you get back. So I leave it to the universe to have some sort of accountability that's beyond the system, because that's the only kind of accountability that's ever going to happen for this individual, it seems. But I'm telling you, if you are watching this, you know someone. I'm telling you, if you are watching this and you call the bank, you call your insurance, you talk to somebody at the furniture store, you ask the right questions, they have been impacted by IPV, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, some sort of abuse from another. We talk about bullying, cyberbullying, in-person bullying, right? That's not just happening from strangers or people on the outside. That's happening in their home. Ask the questions, get the answers, seek support and help for these individuals so that they don't feel alone. They don't feel like I did when I get to the end of a show and go, that's it. Help people out of this. If nothing else, just talk about it. Make it more known. Break this cage. I don't even know how to describe it. This veil. Lift the veil. Lift the veil. Lift the curtain. Show people what is going on. Talk to people. Help them out. Give them whatever resources you can. Even if it's just saying, I'm understanding of your situation. Please don't say I understand, because you don't. No matter what, you just don't. But you can be understanding of what they may be going through, and that is good enough. Just hearing, I believe you. If you truly believe that, if you truly feel that, just as a survivor, hearing the words, I believe you, it gives me chills. It literally gives me chills right now. Thank you. Thank you. And I offer the evidence. Here's the evidence. And a lot of people say, I don't need it. I believe you. I'll still give it if they ever need it, and I still offer it. please start talking about it. Please. Lift the veil from your eyes and help lift the veil from the eyes of others so that we can start having true, real conversations about these relationships of abuse. Abuse and taking advantage, and abuse and taking advantage, and abuse and taking advantage. And if you don't want to believe me, you don't want to hear, whatever, fine, great. Honestly, I don't care. I don't care if you never know who I am. I don't care if this never goes anywhere big. Like, I would rather not even be, like, known. 100%. That, I'm fine with that. Talk to someone else. Look up the statistics. Validate verify what I'm saying. Like, do the research yourself. Go talk to someone. This is so common. Go talk to a victim's advocate just because, and hear the stories of why they're there and what they deal with and what they hear. Talk to attorneys about what they see. Look it up. Watch the Barbie movie and realize that that is such a surface level representation of what is actually going on in so many homes in this country and around the world. Because at the very least, I'm going to finally fucking say this, and I'm going to put it out there so that if I can help, I'll go back to the story that was given to me in like high school many years ago, over 2 decades ago, right? The starfish story, look it up. I'm not going to go through it right now. But if this video helps even one person get out, and it made a difference to that one, it was worth it. And if everyone who watches this video, I'm gonna have like the people who are like, nah, she's so angry and she's a hysterical woman and blah, blah, whatever. Fine. I can't help you anyway. Really, honestly, if that's your perspective, no one can. So you can just go away. But if you are watching this video and this resonates with you at all, please say something to someone. Please help someone else. Please ask the right questions to get the answers. Make sure that your friends are okay. Make sure your family's okay. Make sure you are okay. If you get that feeling in your gut that something is wrong, you, by nature, are an animal. Okay? You're a human animal. You're literally within Kingdom Animalia. Like, you are an animal. That instinct is real. Listen to it. Follow it. If you feel in your gut something is wrong, it probably more than likely is. And it's better to do something about it and be wrong than not do something about it and be wrong. Please, someone, anyone watching this, help at least one person out. If you're the person who needs help, it's possible that you won't be believed. Okay, then keep going until someone believes you. Gather the evidence, squirrel it away, do whatever you have to do. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, talk to a victim's advocate, talk to your therapist, talk to a random fucking person at Home Depot and see if they can help you. Something, do something. And don't stop going until you are out. Because you deserve to live, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to be free of abuse. Anybody who stayed till the end of this, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you don't believe me, I can't do anything about that. If you want to defend an abuser, I can't do anything about that either. If you want to believe me, I can't do anything about that. If you want to do something, great, thank you so much. If you don't, that's your choice. That karma's on those people. But the karma will not be ever on me to not do anything at all. If nothing else, I will always speak out against this, and I will never stop trying to bring this awareness to the forefront to turn victims into survivors and to help them live the lives that they truly deserve. I don't know how I managed to literally get this to an hour almost exactly, but I did. So again, I thank you if you watch till the end. I thank you so much if you choose to do something about it. If you're in it right now, I am understanding of your pain. I am understanding of your struggle. And I put all of the love and energy out there into the universe that you find a way out, because you deserve to be free. Thank you.